There's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, everybody. This is David Ellefson coming at you, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. Keep it hard, keep it heavy.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey folks, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and I am welcoming back a friend of mine who's been on this podcast many times, Mr. David Ellefson, Grammy Award winning David Ellefson, I should say. And he's got lots of irons in the fire, man. He's from the Lucid. He's got Ellison&Soto, Kings of Thrash with Jeff Young and Chris Poland, and Dieth, and plus other projects David has going on, man. So how you been doing, and welcome back to the podcast.
Man, I've been doing good. In fact, I have these stickers right here. There you go. Man, thanks for having me back. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too. So first of all, let's jump right into the Lucid side, then we'll get into everything else.
Sure,
so
yeah.
You first got involved with Lucid when Drew sent you a track and said, hey, man, can you throw a bass on here? Yep. When you got that track and you started listening to the Lucid, what caught your eye about them?
Well, the first song he sent me, so this was summer of 2020. So, it's COVID, everything's locked down. I had just finished recording the Ellefson No Cover record, which was a double album of covers. So pretty big undertaking, but that was just finished. So my studio ears were on, my chops were up, and he sent me the track. I loved it. It was the song that became Hair. And I just thought, I love that kind of bass playing, that really simple kind of stuff. I did that like with Frank Bello with Altitudes and Attitude, right? This kind of clever punk rock kind of stuff. And, Drew's stuff was somewhere between, I don't know, Cheap Trick. It's somewhere in there. It was just very likable, and so that's what caught my ears. I just liked it. I thought it was cool. I did not know Mike Heller. And so as we were, they were sending me some more stuff, and Mike just said, look, let's just get together at my studio out here in LA so we can record for real. And so I brought a bass out there, and I had charted out the 10 songs that they had sent. And, as while we were in the studio, I came up with the name The Lucid. It just kind of, to me, described the music, very, just kind of just that, had just this cool feeling. It could kind of move anywhere. It had, and there's just some good rock hooks in it as well. I mean, it's definitely a rock record. It's not a metal band. I don't consider it an alternative band really either. And, so Vinny flew out from Detroit, Vin, Dombrowski from Sponge. So, Drew came out. So the four of us were in the room, and I'm just ripping on bass. I recorded like 10 songs in 2 days. And in fact, we even did a cover of Cheap Trick's song Downed off the In Color record. And in fact, Chips Enough sang on it. We ended up putting it as a kind of a bonus song on the Ellefson No Cover record. But Mike played drums on it. Drew played guitar on it. I played bass. I think Vin did some kind of scatting and, kind of ad-lib stuff over it. So it was essentially a Lucid song with Chips Enough singing on it. And so it's kind of a hidden track if you go back to the No Cover record and listen to that. Very cool. So, yeah, that's how it started. We went out in the back alley, took some photos, in case something would ever happen with it, and it's kind of funny because we shopped it around to some labels and everybody passed on it. They're like, I don't know, because everybody wants, people are looking for metal stuff, and all this stuff. And so I was like, look, I guess we'll just be a kind of a really famous internet band, and that's when Drew put the first track out in September of 2021, about a year later. it just kind of just landed really perfectly, and that's, from there it kept going. And, first we put some songs out, then we put the videos out. We intended to do some shows. Drew had a cancer scare that sidelined him for a few months, but his health is great. He's cancer free, thank God. And so now here we are. We came to the end of 2022, and I knew I was going to get busy here with Kings of Thrash and stuff coming up, and I needed the runway to be clear for that. Now here in the new year. So, the music industry kind of shuts down by about Thanksgiving, even mid-November. Major labels, they're not putting new songs out. They're not putting new singles out. The radio charts kind of freeze. What's in the gate is there, and that's what it is until really kind of mid to late January, So there's almost 2 months where there's just not a lot of, new stuff going on. So, we're coming into Christmas. And I told Drew, I said, dude, you want to be unprecedented like everything we do with the Lucid? I said, why don't you just drop a track like right before Christmas, like day before Christmas, because nothing's going on. Like no one's on tour. Like the news feeds are going to be just hungry for anything coming out. So they just blow their minds and put a track out, because New Music Friday, right? Friday's usually when new records come out, new songs come out. So I said, dude, there is no new music day before Christmas Eve, I guess, right? So I said, fuck it, let's just do it. So we did. And, of course, everybody's like, wow. And we had Violent J from Insane Clown Posse. So no one saw that coming, right?
Yeah.
The Lucid with fucking ICP, Yeah.
I didn't either. When I saw that, I was like,
great.
What the hell?
Yeah. So, as we do in rock and roll, we take hard left turns and blow people's minds. That's what we do. So that's the story of my career. So this was a good one. And it's fun because Drew's fun. He's a lighthearted guy. And he's got good instincts on everything with the Lucid. He's just really done it right, So we're like the most famous internet band, and that's kind of seems like where we live. And why not? People live on the internet. And they want to hear new stuff. So that's what we do with the Lucid. We entertain.
And you know what, man, Dave, this as well as I do. You've been in music for years, many years, and people don't like change. They hate change.
They hate it.
And then when they hear new stuff like the Lucid, they're like, they're shy about it. But then don't come get us when everybody's blowing us up. Don't you had your chance. So that's a
right,
cool
right. Well, and you're right, man. And so the Lucid sort of just dropped both back in 21 and then here at Christmas of 22. It's at a time like no one saw it coming, and that's the best time to freak people out. Is when they just didn't even see it coming. They're like, "What the hell is this? Wow, really?" And so it's that band, and that's what's fun about it, because I do some other metal stuff, and of course Kings of Thrash people love, because we're, let's face it, the live album that we have coming out here in March from our show that we did at the Whiskey. I mean, what a great way to honor this year's 40 years of Megadeth. It's the 40 years since we started the band. So what a great way to kind of just coincidentally be honoring, the downbeat of the group, so, so there's just all these kind of fun stuff in the pipeline right now. And it's, that's why it was fun to do that with the Lucid too, is to just, wake people up, say, hey, here you go.
I got to know this though, man. When you knew that Violent J from Insane Clown Posse was going to be on this new single, Saddle Up and Ride, what was your thoughts about this? And then when you first heard it, man, what was going through your head?
He's Vinny's buddy, because they're Detroit guys, right? They're Michigan buddies, right? So when Vin brought it up, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I mean, again, left field. And that's what's fun about Vin. Vin is so out of our metal world. He's not a guy who's in the metal tabloids. Sponge is not a band that you hear about kind of in your news feeds, right? Here, at least, rock and metal news feeds. So he sits outside of that. So when he steps into it, it's like he's a fresh face. Everybody loves Sponge. Again, just like Cheap Trick. He's, Sponge is a band everybody loves. Howard Stern loves them. The Goo Goo Dolls. I mean, metalheads like them. And I remember in the 90s when we were, working Megadeth tracks at radio, Sponge was always in the playlist. They were always we were all fighting for the top 10 positions, on all the active rock charts and stuff. And so, Vin's been a friend of the community all along anyway. And he's a hardworking guy. He's funny as hell. He's witty. He's just out of the box, man. So, why wouldn't he bring up something like Violent J? You know what I mean? It's like in his character to do that. So, and it's funny, Saddle Up and Ride is not the first song. There's actually another one we're going to put out on when the EP comes out on January 27th. There's a song coming down the pike. That was the first song that Jay collaborated on, actually, and it was so good that we, Vin's like, man, I'm going to get Jay to, collab on Saddle Up and Ride too. So it's a cool EP, man. It's got when you hear the needle drop of where it starts to where song 5 lands, you're going to go, these guys are whacked, man. It's like, how in the hell would you picture this variety of these 5 songs being this wide yet likable, like rock and roll legal, right? Because it's still rock and roll. So it's, because that's the thing, like you said, people they're conservative, really, even metalheads, they like it something super hard and heavy. But if it's at all not that, then they're like, dude, that's not metal, bro. And then, they're crying like, it's fucking too wimpy, whatever. So, we're creatures of habit, man, all of us, even metalheads. So that's why the Lucid is, it kind of shakes it up, throw it out there and let's see where it lands.
So was there a track that you guys are working on for this album that totally ended up sounding different than what it was intended to? Was there one that just kept changing, man, or no?
Yeah, there is. Mumps was probably one of them. That's a song that we actually had it from the first record. And we just decided, we kind of, there was a lot of songs. I mean, I think Drew and Mike had like 30 songs or something. And so we let Vin pick the ones that he felt were the most, that just spoke to him, that he could write lyrics over and, kind of, because let's face it, after the intro, once the singer starts, we're all listening to the singer, right? So let's give him whatever he grabs, let's go with that. So Mumps was a song that we liked. We didn't love it yet. It wasn't done yet. You know what I mean? So I remember Drew kept bringing it up. And I'm like, God, really? I mean, it didn't pass the first round. Should we just write something else? And, he really felt passionate about it. And there's a song there for sure. And then I was like, God, okay. I picked my bass up. And that's when I started doing, the thumb and popping and, that playing funk right over it. And I was kind of thinking it's more like Incubus, not even Chili Peppers, right? It's kind of more this, it just had it needed some motion to it. So me and Mike Heller and Drew got on the phone and, me and Mike kind of started brainstorming a groove idea. And that's what really, then it kind of sat in a new place. So, it's funny that just with fresh ears, 2 years later, hearing it and just going, yep, that's what it needed. It didn't need a melody change. It didn't need a guitar riff change. It needed a drum and bass groove change. And in the Lucid, we can do that because we're not tied to, it has to go digga, 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 it doesn't, it's not there's not like a prejudice to what it has to sound like yet. So, and that's one of the things I think we like about the band is, I make all these rock and metal records all the time. So it's fun to have an outlet like this where I can just go, I'm just going to frickin' play funk music right now because I don't get to do that anywhere else.
Any songs that did not make this EP, David, we can see on another album possibly from you guys, or maybe just a one-off single maybe that could just drop out of nowhere?
Sure. Well, that's bring up a good point because we live in this digital world now where we can do that. And especially with the Lucid being this digital kind of band, right? In fact, that's the way Drew's been doing this is these digital singles and even CD singles, that has worked really well. People seem to get behind that because especially if first of all, the song's got to be great. If the song is great and people like it and they track with it, then, you can do that. Rather than, to go in and do an album of, 10, 11, 12 songs, it's an undertaking, man. We got lucky on the Ellison&Soto record that me and Andy Martingelli had a lot of the material already written. So once we brought Jeff in, he was our he was the lock to unlock the door, the key to unlock the door, and then it clicked, and then, man, we hit it hard for 8 weeks and rocked a record and have 16 songs or something, but that's a huge undertaking. It's a lot of work. Especially since you're kind of doing these things with no money, because you're just, you're kind of running them up the flagpole, and then you shop around to some labels, and hopefully some of them give you some money. So basically, not even get rich, it's kind of get your money back for the cost of doing it all, But look, I've been doing it my whole career. I've been doing it my whole life. It's what I know, and same with my friends. This is how we work, and so I think the Lucid is this fun. It's sort of like a rest area. You get to pull off the freeway and you go, and it's like you pull off, and it's like you get to stretch your legs and, do something different and fresh for a season, and I think that's where that band has a really valuable part for all of us that are in the band.
Do you see, though, more people gravitating to singles than me and you? We like getting full lengths.
Yeah, I think, the day of buying a full length, I mean, let's face it, most full lengths, there's 1 or 2 great songs. There's 3 or 4 decent ones, and then the rest is like, skip. It's harder and harder to, again, it's a big undertaking to try to write that many great songs, and also not just great songs, but they all fit together in a body of work, and let's face it, there's only so many notes. We've played all the notes, so it's now just coming up with new combinations of how they fit together, and that's what I think is kind of fun when you move to different genres, which I would say, the Lucid is. It's a stepping out of my normal genre, and you kind of shed the skin. You know what I mean? You don't have to do what I always did. Say in Megadeth or something, or playing thrash metal, or playing a certain type of, you got to sound a certain way. You're David Ellefson, people, fans are going to want that. The Lucid is that band that I don't have to do any of that. I can just completely reinvent and just make fun music with my friends, whatever comes down. In fact, Drew sent me a song I'm going to probably work on after this interview, something new that he sent me that is it's just cool. It's very Drew, and I like it. It's fun. It's really simple. And I got a whole folder of stuff that I've sent over to the group, just stuff that I sat here and played, pick up a bass and just riff. And I got a guitar and an amp in the other room by the piano, pick that up. And that's a different influence out there. So just because, different room, sun's shining in, plug the guitar in and riff. So, there's really no limits, we can brush up against metal. We can brush up against funk and all rock, and we can have clowns in the band now. We can do whatever we want.
But has challenged you as a musician?
Yeah, the idea of music should be that, right? It should be this thing, and I think it's one of the things that happens when you, professionally, when you start making records under a moniker, band name, whatever it is. You get your whole life to make that first album, and then you got about a year to make the second one, right? And people are going to expect it to kind of sound like the first one because, look, that's just sort of the consumer mindset, right? When you buy a Chevrolet, you expect the next one to be a Chevrolet, you know what I mean? So it's, we're trained like that, so, so there's that. So that's why I find, it's like between Ellison&Soto, the Lucid, Kings of Thrash, Dieth, it's like I've got these 4 pillars that hold the house up, right? And, and just be totally present for what that particular music setting is. Don't try to do all of that in one band. I think at this point in my life and where I'm at in my career, I prefer that now. I'd rather have 4 outlets to do really different things than to try to have to make it all fit under one roof.
I want to talk about this Ellison&Soto album that you got. How did that come together, and how is playing with these guys, man?
Well, so my band is based in Verona, Italy. So it's Andy Martingelli, our drummer, Paolo Credi. Andy is, just become a musical brother from another mother, man. I mean, he has just become a best friend to me. I send him ideas he lays them down. Because of the time zone, I wake up, he's got it regurgitated back over to me, and I'm ready to play bass on it. And that's really how we wrote that record. And I wanted to work with Jeff. I love the guy as a friend. He's obviously a phenomenal singer. And I just thought, man, Andy kept saying, he goes, dude, he's the guy for this. The stuff we're writing with the heaviness and the intensity that it is, dude, he's the guy. And Andy was right. So I hit him up. I sent him a track, and I sent him another track, and I sent him another track. And he just said, he goes, man, I'd rather just collaborate with you guys and be part of this. I don't really want to be like the paid session singer over here, because he does a lot of that stuff, sing for people. But he said, I'd rather just be all in on this, So, which was music to my ears, because that just makes the collaboration so much more fun. Then you can challenge ideas. When you're paid, you're like, okay, I'll sing what you sent me, and it's like, well, I'd rather, look, challenge me back too, raise my bar, and that's what I like about collaboration, is all boats rise. Everybody gets better, so having me and Jeff and Andy writing this record and recording it I think it made all of us better.
So you, Jeff Young and Chris Poland, have this Kings of Thrash mega years that you guys are doing right now. How special is this for you guys to, play these tracks?
The idea for Kings of Thrash came to me in 2021. I just felt this, kind of need to go play these records. And knowing that they, a song or two from every record would get played sort of in the, in the regular Megadeth set. There, I just felt always, really since The Final Kill came out, which was the last final remix and, remaster of the Killing Is My Business album. I always wanted to go play it, like just go, I don't know, go to St. Vitus or go to the Metro in Chicago, one of the, some real dive bar, just one night only, play Killing Is My Business. So for me, it was just kind of this passion project, let's just go do it one night. And I thought, I was talking to Drew from the Lucid, and he said, man, you should get Jeff Young. And, I actually called Chris Poland. I said, hey, Chris, what do you think we go out and play Killing and Peace Sells? And he's like, okay. He literally called me back 15 minutes later. He goes, dude, I can't do that. Like, I don't have enough time for that. And I said, no. I said, look, just sit tight. We'll see how it plays out, So it's funny how I had called the promoter here in town in Phoenix about trying to maybe do it in early 2022. So it's kind of ironic that, it was, you put things out to the universe, and they just, sometimes it takes a while for it to sort of set it back down the pike and go, okay, now's the time, And so while the shows that I was kind of thinking didn't happen in early 2022, one day Jeff Young calls me. This would have been early May of 22, and the Ultimate Jam Night, which is at the Whiskey in Hollywood. He said, "Hey man, they're going to do a tribute to the Big Four. You want to come out and jam a couple songs?" I said, "Yeah, you know what?" Because we had just reconnected again. I was helping put together the Nick Menza film. This Was My Life, the story of Nick Menza. So I had Jeff come in, interviewed him for the film. So he and I were hitting it off and kind of having some good musical synergy. We'd been in the studio writing. We went in the studio and wrote 4 new songs together. And then he calls me and says, dude, they're doing the Ultimate Jam Night. So it's kind of this, again, you put things out to the universe and suddenly, here's me and Jeff. We're just like hanging, and new opportunities. We're just saying yes to hanging out and stuff. And so I fly out to LA, we get on stage, we jam. Mike Heller from the Lucid played drums for us because he helped us track those first 4 songs. Chaz Leon was put in place to be our singer for the night. And ironically, I had actually jammed with Chaz. He had a Megadeth tribute band called Woke Up Dead out of San Diego. Mm-hmm. And when I did a book signing for my book, More Life with Death, at Warwick's in La Jolla, they had contacted him for Woke Up Dead to jam some songs out on the sidewalk, right? So I went out and I jammed with him right out on the sidewalk in La Jolla, a bunch of metalheads out there in this, rich people town. and everybody's rocking it, having a great time. And so it's just, again, talk about just the weird way the universe works, right? Pulling all the pieces back together. And so there we were. And after we played, Jeff had his girlfriend Dinah come up and sing Mary Jane, because she actually sings in an AC/DC tribute band, and they do real well. They go out and play casinos and stuff. And I think their band is it Thunderstruck, I think is what it is, right? It's got like a female AC/DC tribute band, and they're super good. They're really good, actually. And so there it was. And so we just went, wow, let's do more of that. And I told Jeff, I said, man, I had this idea, me and Chris and you, and then so that's really kind of what put it together. I called my manager Larry. I said, dude, I think it's here. It fell together. It fell in our lap, and so he got excited, and got an agent on board, and we started booking shows. We booked those first 4 shows, kind of like proof of concept. Let's take it out and see if it works, see if anybody shows up, see if anybody cares. And turns out they did. And that 4th night that we played, we recorded it for we filmed it and recorded it, and now Cleopatra's going to put that out for us. It's called Best of Kings of Thrash, Best of the West, live at the Whiskey A Go Go. So it's kind of funny. 4 shows in, we already have an album coming out, of us performing live. So it's pretty cool. I think it's really cool. And again, a great way to honor 2023 is 40 years of Megadeth. Dave and I met in 1983. It's when the band started, that summer of '83. So here we are 40 years later. So, to me, it's nothing but respect and just a celebration and honoring, these early records. And, I think a pretty cool way to kind of downbeat 4 decades of a pretty cool band we got to have,
Yes, sir. I agree with that 1,000%, 1,000%. Dave, has these bands, these new endeavors that you're doing, has it refueled your fire possibly? Has it been a breath of fresh air for you?
100%. And, I was doing these, even when I was in Megadeth, I was doing these things, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Because, I think, when the very beginning, when you're starting a group and you're putting something together, especially when you're like young, like we were, and, it's you against the world. And, we had our, at one point we were all competitors: Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, Overkill, Exodus. We were competing for the bandwidth, right? And that was what was so fun about doing the Big Four in 2010 and 11. We weren't competitors anymore. We'd made our mark. We had our lane, and we each owned our sort of real estate in the thrash metal genre. You know what I mean? And then we were just brothers having fun and having a family reunion. That's what was fun about that. But in the beginning, you're making your name, you're carving your path. Your songs are a statement for a generation of people to rally behind. They become something that becomes the soundtrack of their lives. So you realize that you're creating the fabric of people's existence, from, just the same way my heroes did for me, with Kiss and Iron Maiden and Rush and Cheap Trick and whatnot. So, as fans, we get it, now it's our turn up to bat. Now we're doing that. So, I think, after 20 years of that, and, then a little season away, then coming back another 10, 11 years of it again, you start to realize, you always want to do your best. And at some point when you're a bigger group, you're naturally going to be at the top of the charts, and, your name's going to go into the hat to win a Grammy, and, you're there now, you're in that echelon. But it's fun to do music just for music's sake, and to play with other musicians just for the sake of being a member amongst members, and you're not, because at some point you kind of become like a corporation, you gotta, again, just like when Apple puts out a new iPhone, it has to live up or be better than the last iPhone, you know what I mean? And you kind of are the same thing when you're a rock group. And so to do these other things that don't have those kind of pressures, I'm in it, and my friends are also famous, and we're all making music and new records together, but like the Lucid is a good example. You can just pull the covers, man, and it's a brand new beast. It beats to its own drum, and you can carve new paths. It's like, water always finds a way. That's why there's creeks and rivers, right? Because at one point, at some point, the water needs to find a way to get to where it wants to go. And
Sure.
I think that's kind of how these new bands are. It's like they create their own little streams and rivers that ultimately lead to the big ocean of life.
Could we see another Big Four possibly, in your own opinion?
Look, Slayer's retired, so at this point, no. It'd be a big three, but I think what made that one so cool back in that point, look, I had just come back to Megadeth, Joey Belladonna had just come back to Anthrax, Dave Lombardo just came back to Slayer. There was the little mini family reunions with all of us, and then there was the big family reunion, of all of us doing it together. So it really was a special moment, that Jeff Hanneman's no longer here, and so a lot of things have changed, since that. And you can think about it, it's over a decade ago. That's already 10, 11, 11 some years, 12 years ago now. So a lot has changed in that time, and fortunately we were all still alive and healthy. And I mean, look, even Gar and Nick Menza weren't around anymore. You know what I mean? So fortunately we caught that at a moment when we were still viable and healthy and able to do it.
I'm very excited about your other project, Dieth. I want to know when new albums coming out from you guys. What's an EP or album, whatever you guys are going to do. When can we expect something like that to come out?
Yeah, it's a full-length album. In fact, it was just approving mixes today, and that one is really something special.
Yeah.
I can't talk too much about it because we're going to start to be setting that record up for the summer. But that one's got some weight and some teeth in it, and in a way of nothing I've ever been involved in quite like it. And so it's really special. So that's all I'll say. But yeah, just kind of like the Lucid, just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We dropped that video on my Facebook, and that thing freaking blew up. Look, people were excited to see me doing something heavier than I'd ever done before, something that really had fucking guttural weight to it. And, just unapologetic fuck yous all the way. You know what I mean? And I think it's good to have a band like that in your cachet. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't have to tiptoe around anything. You don't have to apologize. It's just, like it, fuck off, and then people like that. I think as metalheads are like, fuck yeah, that's the fucking spirit, David. Good job, Ellison. Nice one, So I'm looking forward to that one.
It's good to have that little. It's good to have that little band like that in your back pocket to when you say, "Let's ride a fucking guys. I'm pissed. Let's go."
Yeah, have a good fuck you in your back pocket.
I like seeing you happy, man. I like seeing this Dave Ellefson. I like seeing that smile when you come back. So that's cool. That's awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
How can folks stay in touch with everything that you're doing, because you're all over the place with these things?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I'm all over the place, but every one of them is focused. You know what I mean? So I'm not scattered. You know what I mean? I'm a lot of different roads down many different highways, but my hand is firmly on the wheel. Trust me. So DavidEllefson.com is the main place. Of course, my Facebook /David Ellefson kind of has everything on there. So, and of course, there's KingsThrash.com. There's Dieth, the Dieth Band or Dieth Official. I forget what these things are sometimes. So much of it's just, Facebook is always kind of the feeder for most of them now. So
I will have all these links, ladies and gentlemen, in this podcast. So that way you cannot say I don't know where to go to, because they will be listed right there when this is done.
Perfect.
My friend, would you care to do another promo for my show before I let you go?
Sure. Hey, everybody, this is David Ellefson coming at you, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. Keep it hard, keep it heavy.
Everybody stick around. We always have some great interviews coming up down the pipe for BODS Mayhem Hour. Please get out and check out our Facebook page and subscribe to that podcast link and that YouTube link. If you like what I'm doing, hey, subscribe to and keep up with all this stuff, and check out Dave Ellefson. Trust me, he's got all kinds of good stuff in this Dieth band that he's got right now. Don't sleep on these guys, because I'm telling you right now, they are freaking good. I love their shit. Trust me. Lucid is good too. Not taking anything away from the Lucid. But I'm a heavy guy. I like the heavy stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff out there from Dave. thank you so much for doing this interview, my friend, and best of luck to you.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.